Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm going to talk about this article that was going around Twitter today, and I'm going to touch on some other things here. So, buckle in. So this article from uxmovement.com was talking about the aesthetic accessibility paradox. Basically, this is written by a visual designer. They're laying out the case that designers are basically not being able to do their best work because they have to follow accessibility guidelines. So for those who don't know, like accessibility on your website comes down to some things, making sure that the contrast to the text is good enough to read. You're able to read it, like it's not super pale gray text on a white background that's hard to read. That's part of it. Making sure that you have alt attributes in your images, so people with a screen reader, blind people actually use the web too. They use special screen readers, and it reads out stuff, the alt attributes from images. So that's all part of accessibility. This particular part of it I'm going to focus on is something that most people can evaluate with their own eyes, and something that I have a lot of people who aren't visually impaired, something that people who aren't blind, something that I myself, who has 20/20 vision, I can even notice. So basically, this visual designer is laying out the case that highly aesthetic interfaces, highly aesthetic websites, highly pleasing websites um, favor the majority of people. And having to do accessible design is making it's satisfying the minority is excluding the majority of people. And I think it's really kind of misguided. So this person, this is what they're using for their argument. Part of it is they're saying, look at these two forms. Now, this one over here that's accessible, it has color contrast to where it passes what's called AA and AAA accessibility for contrast. And I'm going to show you what that is in just a second. But this would be able to pass those accessibility standards for contrast of text. And this person's argument is this form over here on the right is actually a more aesthetically pleasing design. And this is what people, designers, the wise and great designers out there are being stifled from doing by trying to cater to accessibility. All I really get from this article is this person is not a good designer, because design, the whole idea of design is working within constraints to get to a goal. And the idea is not to exclude anybody, neither the majority or the minority. And there are a lot of ways to design with contrast of colors that is accessible. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. But this is a hot garbage take. It's highly a crap take. This person's not a good designer. I'm just going to say it. I've worked with people like this before too. I mean, designers, visual designers, and not all designers are this bad, but there's a lot of them that kind of get in this bubble where they kind of copycat each other. And so if everybody is like doing this type of design where you can't really see the forms to you don't know where to click, you can't see the labels of the forms, that's seen as good design, or it has been for the past few years. Anyway, this person goes on to say, oh, here's the majority, the normal vision users, the minority, visually impaired users. And this doesn't necessarily mean blind. This could be just people with vision impairment. Maybe their vision is not perfect. Their vision isn't perfect, but having good contrast helps them see what's on the page and be able to use the website. Now, Domino's Pizza just got sued by not having an accessible website that blind users would be able to use. Now, that's an extreme case of this, but like I said, they're spending more money in court to fight this than it would take to solve all the issues with their website. So I think sometimes people dig in their heels when it comes to this, and I think it's a bad reaction. I think it's a bad attitude. I think it's a really um, not a good thing. And a lot of people tore this person up in the comments as well. They actually went to town on this guy. I think there was one person that agreed with him, and everybody else just shot this guy to hell. Um, but anyway, I think this was like what they came up with as a compromise. Was this is as the most aesthetically pleasing. This is kind of like a balance between accessible and aesthetic. I still can't see these form lines very well, or the labels, and this is too accessible, which I don't understand what that means. Because being too accessible just means that everybody can use it. One thing that I'm going to point this out here is this is a site called Accessible Colors. Now I will link this site up, and this is something that I'm using right now. I'm designing a site right now. I just found this site like not that long ago. I'm designing a new website, and it really challenged me as well to make sure that the font colors um, have the proper background and they have the proper foreground. Now, what you can do with this, what is so cool about this, is you can put in your text color and your how big the font is, the font size, and the font weight, and then the background color, and it will tell you whether it's AA compliant or AAA compliant. Now, AAA compliant is the strictest. That's kind of what you should be going for, um, but AA is the less strict version of that. It's more of a compromised version. So a lot of government sites, they must have AAA compliance. Some of them must have like AA compliance, and some other accessibility guidelines must also be followed as well, that are set forth both by government regulations, by the World Wide Web Consortium, and other organizations. But basically, so let's go to this is a popular site where designers actually look at each other. This is a site called Dribble. It's you have to get an invite from somebody to get into this. Like somebody who's already in this has to give you an invite to be able to, for you to get into it. You can't just join. You have to be invited. We'll look at like something here. Not meaning to pick on this person too much. Now these are what they're called screenshots. They're not actual HTML. It's just photos of this. So let's take a look at this site. So Carbon Health here, right here. This is a site that I just now had no predisposition toward this. I just went to Dribble. I just looked at one of these shots and tried to find something with text that might be a little bit too light. So you can see right here that this H5 tag, this little bit of text here where it says smart and hassle-free, I don't know if you can see that. It has a very light gray here. The hex is this one, which I'm going to drop into this. The background color is FFF. That's pure white. Okay. It fails AAA. We'd have to, in this site, Accessible Colors, it gives you tips. So in fact, it's so light gray that it says that you'd have to change the background to basically almost black for this to pass, or change the text color to this other hex color, which is a little bit darker. But let's see if it just passes AA. It also fails AA standards, and you can barely see that. And again, to pass the AA standard for accessibility contrast, you have to change this to a very dark gray. So, but the rest of this text, I mean, seems okay. I mean, these ones where it says like our services, that's the same color. That does not pass. Okay. So let's see this one, virtual care, primary care. Let's see if this gray. Now that dark, almost black, I guarantee you that'll pass. But some of these other things probably wouldn't pass. Okay, so this color is, I don't know if we're going to be able to put this in here because it's like, it looks like opacity. Basically, it's like a color, but it like has Now see, we got to put a hex color in there. Okay, so we got to use a hex color. Let's look at this color right here where it says no paperwork, no hassle. That one is a little bit darker. It says the hex is 6E7071. So these hex colors, what this actually is, the first two is the red value, the second two is the green value, and the third two are the blue value. And it's hexadecimal, meaning that the most is FF, and the least would be 0, 0. So instead of counting from 1 to 10, it goes or 0 to 9, I should say. Instead of going from 0 to 9, hexadecimal, it's 16. It goes from 0 to F. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's how these go. So the higher the overall number, if all three of those number pairs are high, the hex color ends up lighter. If they're lower in value, like closer to 0 all the way through, then it is closer to black. Okay, so let's test this one out. This one passes AA. Okay, so that one passes. Does it pass AAA? It fails AAA. Okay, so I'm not trying to pick on this person because obviously these other blacks are going to pass. And this is why you see sometimes like this sort of buttons. You see a lot of times, like I've seen this as a design pattern a lot more recently, where buttons are like white on black, it's white text on black background. I've seen this increasingly more because that passes accessibility. But these other things don't pass as much. I don't know what these colors are. Okay, but we're just going to assume like these other ones like pass. It's just some of this other text, like this text and that text, do not pass. But this one, prescriptions at your doorstep, and the buttons, those would pass. But let's look at another site. So here's another one that I actually know about. Decent looking site. But let's look at the text on the page for this one. This one, let's see. Okay, so this color is 898989. It's a kind of a medium gray. Does it pass? Accessibility. Does not pass AAA. Let's see if we can find another one in here. Like I said, there's a lot of people who are like basically specialized in visual design. So there's a lot of stuff in here that's like a lot cooler necessarily than your run-of-the-mill web design stuff. It's a lot of people that specialize in this stuff, and like I said, it's let's check this one. Real Advisor Sell page. So let's take a look. Okay, so that's overall pretty good. Looks pretty good. So let's see. Let's check. Let's actually check these buttons because I'm curious about this. So I'll show you that it also works the other way too. I have a feeling that this is going to pass. So button background. Okay, background color. So text color in this case would be FFF, which is pure white. And then this passes AA. Fails, interestingly, fails AAA. Let's look at the hover state of that button. Okay, so the hex value is 243A92. Okay, so the background color of this button, the hover state of the button passes AAA. So this is not bad. This is actually a lot better than most websites that you see. But you see it's a very basic, as far as colors, as far as fonts, this passes AA. But you can see that the colors, they pass. See, they have this like cutesy thing with the opacity. It's like pure black 000, but 84% opacity. That's what this RGB, the A is the opacity. So how see-through it is. So very interesting. I have a feeling that that would pass accessibility anyway, as well. It just from eyeball perspective, it looks like it'd probably be dark enough. But very interesting. This is the site Accessible Colors. You can check out different things here, see if it passes AA or AAA. Something to check out. Again, this is one of the things that I test in SEO audits is the actual legibility of the page. And when I see things that are too far off and it's too much very pale gray on a white background, I'm going to call that out because it's just hard for people to use. And it doesn't matter if you're old or young. It doesn't matter if you're uh, blind, half blind, have all your vision, or just a little bit vision impaired, wear glasses, wear contacts. It doesn't really matter. People should be able to use your site, and there is no designing for the majority. It's more visual designer masturbation, basically. And I just don't have time for it. I mean, you know, I've encountered a lot of people like that, but most people that I've encountered are good enough designers, and they're smart enough to understand that that's not good design, and you're not out to please other designers or impress other designers with your design skills. The real goal is to make sure that the end users of your clients' apps, websites, marketing materials, uh, web pages, that they can actually use it and help your clients make more money. The idea is not to win design awards or get street cred. The idea is to help your clients make money. And in the end, accessibility and making sure that you have the right contrast with your fonts, the right legibility with your buttons, the right contrasts as far as accessibility. It's good for business. It's what's best for business. My name is John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO. I'm here every single day making videos on SEO. Would love to hear your thoughts. That's all I have for now. I'll be back tomorrow with a new video. Until next time, peace.